Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of Justin the Food Entrepreneur Show. I'm Justin Bizzarro. I'm your host. That's Bizzarro. If you're trying to find us, you can reach us on Instagram at Justin the Food Entrepreneurs. You can also reach me personally. Again, that's 2 Z's, 2 R's, Justin Bizzarro, Z R. I am the host, so you can find us there. You can also find Gorilla Brave across LinkedIn, Threads, Apple, whatever. I don't even know. I can't keep it all straight anymore, but wherever it is, Gorilla Brave's out there. The podcasts are syndicated on anywhere podcasts can be syndicated. And so you guys can share like whatever across any time zone. So again, also for the audience in Apple now podcasts on your iPhones or on your computers, the transcripts are not only on Podbean, they are also now on iTunes and Apple Podcasts. So if you want transcripts, they are available. It is a lot easier to find them on Apple Podcasts, just so everyone knows. So they're out there. With that being said, I have a guest from Illinois with us today. I have Luke Lenz from Papa Caps Foods. How are you doing today, Luke?
I'm doing great. How you doing?
I'm doing very well, thank you. All right, Luke, let's talk about you, your story, your journey, or maybe it's a quest in this case, pursuing hot sauce. Let's talk about, you've obviously liked it for a long time, but have you always been into hot sauce? Have you always been into food from a young age? Let's sort of talk about your upbringing. Let's talk about your journey to where you are now.
Sure, yeah. So my journey with spicy food is, I remember being probably around 5 or 6 years old. My dad lived with my grandparents and my aunt. My aunt loved really spicy food, and she was also a little bit of a prankster. And she would try to trick me into eating spicy pickles. The problem was I actually really enjoyed it. And so we would go around and actually have like spicy food eating contests between me and her.
Your grandma. So what? Oh, your aunt. Okay. I just, for some reason, my grandma went into my head for some reason, competition and my grandma. And so let's talk about foods, trying hot sauce, hot foods. Let's talk about this journey a little bit, because now this is the beginning. This is the foundation of a passion, or the pollinating of a seed that was planted, however we want to look at it. Let's talk about this specifically, the adventure, the bond with your aunt, sort of the fellowship there.
Yep. So after a little while, my dad got married to my stepmom, and we moved out. And we grew up in a small town called Wilmington, Illinois. And I always liked like strange, unique, weird things. And so, like, for example, are you familiar with alternate reality games?
No, talk to me about that. Well, maybe I am. I don't always know. I just kind of pick up games, but go on.
So alternate reality games are these games that you can play, and they're like fictional games that will take place in real life, and they have a real life timeline. So one day I saw this one game. It was called Niantic. And you would go to this website, and there were all these cryptic messages, and you had to decipher them, and something new would happen every year or every day. And so if you deciphered it, you would get a little bit deeper into the storyline. So the Niantic one was actually put on by, at the time, Google, and it was to promote a new game that they were doing called Ingress. Now, Ingress was this really cool game where you would travel to different locations in the real world on a map and take over these portals. And there were 2 teams. There was a red team and a green team. And then as the game evolved, you would be able to connect those portals and create points for your team. And so the whole world was split between these 2 different teams. And there were people who would fly to all these crazy places, including like the North Pole, or these very low frequented islands, to just try to get a certain portal so that they connect it for their team. That wound up turning into the basis for Pokemon Go. So being on the ground floor as the game started, the game directors kind of got to know me a little bit better. So I got a little peek on the inside. And they would have these real world events, like they would have one out in San Francisco, they would have them in Chicago, and where all these gamers would come out and play the game. And so I actually got a chance to go out to San Francisco for one of their big events, and just that interactivity, kind of melding that real world game with a fictional world. I really enjoyed it. So I did a couple others, including some horror based video game or ARGs, and I saw how people, when they were challenged to do things that they weren't expected or see things that they weren't expecting, on how much it really moved them. And so when I created Papa Caps, it was during the pandemic. Just like a lot of the stories of a lot of the hot sauce people, I did it because I was bored. I have a full-time job and we were stuck at home, and I have a love for growing strange and unique plants. And of course I grew the Reaper plant, the Reaper pepper, and I didn't know exactly what to do with it. And so I asked some of my friends, and they were like, well, you should make a hot sauce. I'm like, all right. And so as soon as I made a hot sauce with it, and as soon as they opened up the world to where we can visit each other a little bit more, I brought it to a party. And I thought it was going to be more of a prank sauce to try to make my friends, kind of make them burn a little bit harder than they anticipated.
Yeah, your
But
aunt's trickster coming out in you, right?
exactly.
Yeah.
Except for they absolutely loved it. All except for one of my friends who was on the floor crying. So that's why I created another one for him that was not as spicy. But for 2 years, they wished me
I've been
here.
there.
So yeah.
That's hilarious. The growing the peppers and stuff, have you always grown things? Was it something you find came naturally to you?
Yeah. So I grew up.
Go ahead.
I grew up, when I went to Wilmington, I grew up kind of like on a farm. Well, we were in between two farms, and we had goats. We had a huge garden, about an acre wide. And my dad would just grow everything he could: tomatoes, beans, peppers, yeah, pretty much anything. And yeah, so I learned from him, and I've been pretty good. I like to grow strange things, as I said. So I'll grow like black tomatoes or striped tomatoes. I have a daughter that is really into these things called dragon tongue beans that are green and purple, and yeah, just really strange things. And when I created this company, I wanted to bring my love of the unique, the unknown, the challenges into this company, and I wanted to be very customer focused. So that's why Papa Caps isn't just like a hot sauce company or a spicy food company. I consider us more of an experience company. So if you go to our social medias or anything, you'll see that I do challenges, or sometimes I'll put out like a cryptic message, and people who solve that message will get like a discount or something like that. But yeah, I wanted to kind of show the customer how crazy and amazing that this world is by using unique ingredients, but also as how crazy they can push themselves and accomplish things that they didn't even think they could.
It's interesting. I didn't know that was the name of it, the alternative reality. I'm familiar with Pokemon Go, and I'm actually working on a project where something almost similar, where a TV show where you're following food in cities, and within that, the guests and the customers, it's gamified. And once the episode's released, they can do the same thing. And if they visit all the following of whatever, for example, a cashew in Phuket, there's certain points in gaming things that go along with it. It's more of an individualistic or maybe even a family team type thing. Also, you can gain things as a family. So to encourage exposure, experience, education around the world, in particular around food, and then understand where food comes from and all the diversity we're talking about. Dragon tongue beans, I think, is an interesting one. And I was just talking about striped tomatoes yesterday, actually. And so I find the green thumb thing a really cool thing for individuals. I think that being able to grow things and then do things with them, multiple things. One, they're great fresh. Two, they're great cooked. Three, they're great preserved. Okay. So pickled, sauced, whatever, fermented. I think that that's important. So I want to talk a little bit about building the different types of hot sauces that you have, building each one. What are their names? What does it look like? How'd you come up with them? Let's really dive in deeply into it, because I know you like talking about hot sauces. And as we discussed beforehand, I think I really want to dive into the names, the ingredients, the coming up with the concept. Like, it's not easy to develop an acidified food, right? Like, it's a
Yeah.
little bit harder. It's a different category. It's hard. The shelf life is different, things like that. So let's talk about that a little bit, Luke.
Well, yeah, not a problem. So Sweet Reaper was my first hot sauce. That was the one that I brought to the party. And as I said, I called it Sweet Reaper because of the Reaper pepper. All my sauces also have a backstory to them that I really haven't revealed too much yet. So Sweet Reaper is like this Reaper. Papa Caps is his own character as well. But so that this Reaper came about and tried to steal Papa Caps's soul. And she wasn't able to, but she got like kind of half of it. And he wanted to make something that made him feel whole again. So he made the Sweet Reaper sauce, which is supposed to have not only her beauty, but her wrath as well. But anyways, so as I said with the original, when I first came up with the Sweet Reaper, I wanted to create one that was not as hot. So I created hickory jalapeno, which is a very similar recipe, except for it's using jalapenos, smoked chipotle jalapenos over the Reaper pepper. And then I knew I wanted since I had two sweet sauces, I wanted to create a savory sauce. So I created my third one, which was savory habanero, and it was right down the middle. That one had zero sugar in it. So a lot of people who couldn't have a lot of sugar, and well, my sauces don't have tons of sugar, but they didn't want to have any sugar. And if they were like doing keto or whatnot, they could use that sauce. Then I created Caribbean lime. I wanted to do something more fancy. And so I wanted to do something tropical, and I wanted to do like a cilantro sauce. And so I tried getting that Caribbean-ish, cilantro-ishy lime taste put together, but I was still kind of new being a chef, and I could not get that cilantro taste to stick around. So I wound up tossing the cilantro taste all together, and I put in garlic, and it turned out to be my best-selling sauce. It was more of a mistake, just kind of throwing something together to try to see what stuck. And yeah, it turned out to be my bestseller.
That's kind of crazy. So, I mean, when you were coming up with the sausage, did you think of things that it went well with? Were you thinking of how you would see it in the end result, like on a taco or on a burger, a little bit like that? Because I think you're only at the beginning and you're already telling the stories and developing characters around them. This is important in the food brands. McDonald's has proven that multiple characters in a brand helps build a brand. And not only that, as we've discussed in the show, the Ronald McDonald House was created out of the efforts, which has helped thousands, hundreds of thousands, millions of children, orphans, those disadvantaged. And so these type of things, marketing, advertising, there's a reason characters are attached to brands. There's a reason if you can create a story around multiple characters and the building of your brand, it's important for the building of your brand and its ability to stay around long enough and reinvent those characters and those stories over time and still be able to anchor them as part of your brand. So now you have multiple characters. Why is that important? Because I can relate to one of the characters at McDonald's. My girlfriend can relate to another. My kid can relate to another, so on and so forth. So it just gives more stickiness to a brand. So I like the stories. Let's talk about developing more. What does this look like? Your future? Where are you hoping this goes? Because you're just at the beginning. You're just building. So what does it look like to actually build this right now? Get the word out there, talk about it, have people taste it, try it, do all those type of things?
So yeah, as I said, I started off with my 4 basic sauces. I do have some new things coming up now. The first 4 were I didn't really have much in mind. The first one, it goes great on pizza. The Sweet Reaper is amazing on pizza. It's great in soups. Then hickory jalapeno is great on eggs or nachos. Caribbean lime goes great on chicken tacos, fish tacos, shrimp tacos. Then you have the savory habanero, which it works anything more tomato based. So that goes good with tomato based stuff. The newer ones that I'm coming up with have more of those thought processes in mind on what I want to use it for. So I have a umami sauce coming out soon. Hopefully within the next couple of weeks, I'll have everything finished up with that one and I can get it out to the markets and everything. So that would be good for steaks. It's good for Asian stir fries, anything you want to get that nice umami taste to. It's made with porcini mushrooms and tamari. And then I have a couple collaborations that I'm working on right now. One is going to be with another local hot sauce creator, Gindo's Hot Sauce. They're also based out of Illinois. And that is a very cool concept that we're coming up with. I don't want to give too many details on what it is just yet, but it should be out hopefully at the end of April. And then I have another thing that's really unique with a beer that I want to work with a local brewery with that I will be presenting to them hopefully this week and see where that goes with that one. But it's a very unique idea that I think is going to work out really well.
Okay, I love this. Do you try to grow the ingredients now? Do you have to source them? Are you co-packing? How are you still working like under what I would call cottage license, I guess, is what they called it in Georgia? Talk to me a little bit about that.
So I started off doing the cottage food and I did that for my first year. My first 2 years. And I had a mentor out of SCORE Chicago, which is a place that gives free mentors to local businesses. And I saw that there was a Joliet hot sauce expo. And my mentor was like, and it was more expensive than most of the other things I did. And my mentor was like, give it a shot. If you do good there, I mean, you can do good pretty much anywhere you want to go. All your competition is right there. And, we did that and we did really, really well. And we found out how amazing the hot sauce community is. Yeah, everybody is willing to help you out. I mean, I have friends that I consider mentors now. I got Mikey B's out of Texas, and I got Angry Irishmen. They are big mentors of mine, and also Chris and Mary Ginder. They're also very big influences that I really respect. So after I did that show, I was like, okay, well, you know what? Let's do this pretty legit. And so I started working towards that. And it's really funny because right as I was just about to get finished getting all my licensing and everything, I got an email in my email box from another hot sauce company that I really respect. And this hot sauce company, he tends to call out people for what they call, I guess, tub sauce, which is people who are just making it in their basement and selling it, trying to sell it across state lines, and they're not doing it legally. And
there's a lot of that goes on. I was in the co-packing business in acidified foods, and what I found is there's a lot of people that go around the system for sure.
Mm-hmm. Yep. And he likes calling people out on that. And he tried, not that he tried, but he called me out because he didn't see the FDA approved license labeling on my stuff. But this, you got to remember, this was when I was still practicing under cottage food. And I wanted to do everything by the book. And so all my labels and everything were perfectly fine for Illinois cottage food. So I broke it down to him and I was like, I am working towards that. I'll be done in a couple weeks. But for right now, these are the laws that I'm allowed to abide by. I can only sell in Illinois. If you try to buy something outside of Illinois on my website, it will not let you. That is one of the checks and balances that I had on my website. And then I think I kind of gained his respect by doing that. And for the fact that I knew who he was because he didn't know who I was. And so he went on to a podcast, and that podcast is a big hot sauce podcast. And they were all kind of ripping on the tub sauce people. And he kind of brought me up without saying my company's name. He's like, well, we do got to be kind of careful because these there are cottage food laws in places that they are only allowed to sell in that state. And if they're following that, we can't really criticize them for still following the law. And so that was kind of cool that he did that little call out to me. But yeah, as of 2 Decembers ago, I got all my licensing to go across state lines. I went to my first event last year outside of Illinois. I was in Tennessee at the Tennessee Hot Sauce Expo. That was a blast. I kind of brought all my friends out there with me to kind of say thank you for, they were my free labor for the first couple years of work. So yeah, I wanted to give them a little trip and say thank you. And we did a tour down Broadway and all that good stuff. And yeah, it was a good time. But this year we're going to make it even better.
Yeah, and the hot sauce market is a growing market as long as humans keep populating the world and growing in numbers. There will be hot sauce, and I do think the acquired taste is growing as well. I mean, if we look at the 1950s and 1960s, most of the world wasn't used to anything spicy other than parts of the world. Now, buffalo sauce, hot wings, things like that, those are all over the world now. Hot sauce is not just something that Louisiana hot sauce did or Frank's did. This has become a world thing, or something that we know are off in parts of the world and very unique. Like, it's becoming such a booming industry. There's whole stores of it. I mean, everyone knows this. You walk by it and you're amazed by it. But the bigger part of it I want to talk about is that community. Let's talk about the hot sauce community and what it means to you. But first, comment on what you were about to say.
Yeah. So most of the makers that do the farmers markets and stuff like that, or the big events, they definitely see that generational divide. So I definitely can usually pinpoint, not all the time, but mostly pinpoint the people that are going to say that they're not spicy people, and they're very adamant and animated when they tell us that. And then you'll see stuff like, so one of my favorite things in the world, as I said, we are an experience-based company. One of my favorite things in the world to see, and I see it all the time, is when a parent will come up with their kid and the parent wants to try the hot sauce. And the kid will ask, can I try some? And the parent is like, no, this is too spicy. Too spicy for you. And so I'll literally tell the adult, I mean, as long as they're not like 2 or 3 years old, I'll tell the adult, the first couple really are not that spicy at all. And I'll just throw that out there, but leave it after that. And if they do allow the kid to try the first one, there are so many times I see that kid who will go through that whole entire lineup of sauces all the way to the end. I have this year, I believe she'll be 11 years old. She goes to the Illinois Hot Sauce Expo every year, and she makes it her goal to make it to my last one. And when they make it to that last one, that look of pride that's on the father's face or the mother's face when their kids can make it that far, and the look of pride on their face that they made it that far, that just blows it out of the park.
It's incredible. I love it. Let's talk about the mentor thing a little bit too, because I want to attach all of this together, but I want to lay the foundations. Let's talk about mentors. You mentioned a lot of people you've reached out to, or individuals that have helped you, humans that have sort of pollinated you so you could grow into a better hot sauce entrepreneur. I don't even know, there should be a name, like a master of barbecue, like pit master of hot sauce, because it's true. While everyone thinks there's a lot of them out there, think about how many pit masters there are out there, or chefs, or whatever, that are experts in their field. But there needs to be like hot sauce kingery or some, whatever it is. But anyway, queenery. But let's talk about the mentors. Let's talk about the seeking of them, because you had to find them, right? It's not like they just came to you. No one's like, oh, I'm looking for a guy who's looking to be a hot sauce guy, right? That's not generally how mentorship happens.
No. So the first one, as I said, was through Score Chicago, and he was more of a business mentor. He was a ex-marketing VP of L'Oreal. And that was one that I got assigned to through Score Chicago. The other mentors, surprisingly enough, now you mentioned barbecue and hot sauce, and there's completely different, from what I've been told, there's a completely different feel in both of those different categories. So when I did go to the first Illinois Hot Sauce Expo, my neighbor was Angry Irishman, and Kevin over at Angry Irishman, he was just like super, super friendly. Everybody in the hot sauce community is super friendly with each other. I did not expect that. I expected to be there with all my competition, bear down. Everybody's going to be trying to compete for customers. No, I mean, Kevin from Angry Irishman, he was super nice to me. He brought me over to meet Mikey V from Texas. And Mikey V literally, he told me the story. He was like, because I was nervous. I'm still working my day job and I don't know if I'll ever end that. But he was telling me that, his story was, I was working this job. I was making six figures and I started doing this hot sauce company and, I got laid off. And he's like, but that gave me the motivation to push this hot sauce company. And now look, I got my own restaurant. I have my own hot sauce factory. I have 30 employees. You shouldn't be worried if you wind up getting laid off or you leave your job, because there's plenty of market share to go around. And even though hot sauce market is a little bit saturated, as long as you have that passion, the customers come. And he gave me his card and he was like, if you ever have any questions, feel free to reach out. And so I take them up on that. And then recently, the Gindos, since we see each other at all these different events, since we're both in the area, Chris Ginder, he came up to me and he's like, if you ever want to do a collaboration, hit me up. Would love to do something with you. And I had something in my mind that I wanted to do. And I was like, this would work perfect. So I talked to him on the next event that we were at together. And I was like, I have this idea. And what do you think? And he fell in love with it. And so that's what we're working on now. And then on top of that, as far as I am not working too much with Score Chicago as much anymore, but I am working with another business coach. And that is Sari Kimball from Food Business Success. And so I just started that about a month ago, and that's going really, really well as well.
I like this. What have you learning? What's been the most impactful? Let's anchor this.
Yeah. So this with Mastery at Food Business Success, it's really been, it flipped things upside down a little bit. It made me look at things way different. Because right now, right before I started that, I was in the mindset that work harder, do more. And, having the daytime job and working with my hot sauce company, I don't get a time off and I have a family as well. So last summer, I kind of pushed myself a little bit too hard. I worked literally 3 months straight without a day off. And I'm talking 12 to 16, 18-hour days. I would go in to my main job during the week and then go into the kitchen to cook after my main job. Wouldn't get home until 1, 2 o'clock in the morning to get up at 6 and do it all over again. What this course has kind of taught me, as where I'm right now, some of the tips that I don't need to take everything all at once, because burnout is definitely a thing. I need to start looking at things from the top down, not from linear out right now. I need to see what's working, what's not working, focus on high return on investment things. Sometimes I'll do smaller events just because I like the event coordinators, or I like the venue, or it's because it's in my hometown. And if that's not getting me that return on investment, I'm one person right now. I don't have employees, which is something we're also working on to change. So that is definitely something that was hindering my company. If I don't work every weekend, that's okay. I have my main job. My family is doing just fine as far as finances. So I don't have to work every weekend, and work on building your brand and not just the product. I want people to see Papa Caps and have a story that they have with us. So it's not just hot sauce, not just spicy foods. It's oh, remember that time I went to that hot sauce expo and I took on Papa Caps's challenge and I wound up eating a and jalapeno, not a jalapeno, a habanero pepper that was injected with his hottest hot sauce. And I had to sign a waiver and all that kind of stuff. I want to create those stories, building my brand, the stories behind the hot sauce and Papa Caps. And yeah, those are the things I'm learning right now.
I love it. One of the things I think about always is when we're being mentored is the ability to teach others eventually, because what's really going on is we're being mentored because eventually we're going to have to mentor others. And I think that's part of what we're talking about here is how do you get employees? Well, you're going to have to mentor them and guide them and grow them. So I think the thing about mentorship also is that you're going to eventually be the mentor. The student will turn to be the teacher.
Yep.
So I love it. Traveling, markets, weekends, growing a brand. Let's talk about road time, building relationships with customers, long-term relationships. How do you do all of that? Because your game's a little bit different, right?
Yeah. So right now, yeah, it's definitely a lot of word of mouth and being at the right places at the right time. Like the Hot Sauce Expo when we did one of our challenges. But right now, while we focused on just the hot sauces, the normal hot sauces, I'm now able to start focusing on and you'll notice this with when the collaboration comes out with Gindo's, my unique ideas. So it's not just like a Reaper sauce or something like that. And it's not just your normal sauce, period. The new things that I'm going to be coming out with, I don't think have ever been done before. They're things, some of them might be a little bit gimmicky, but they're things that will definitely stand out apart from anything that's out there right now. So that would be the experience that you would get from my newer products. I don't have a product for this. The only thing I can give an example to is, I don't know if you've ever heard of miracle berries. Have you ever heard of those before?
No, let's talk about that. Go
Okay,
on.
so when I talk about unique experiences, and I'll go into the miracle berries as well. One of my challenges for my hot sauce, my 3 Dog Dare challenge, was they would pull a slip of paper out of a box and they would have to do whatever's on that slip of paper. And one of them was called the 3 Dog Dare shot collar. And so as an example, they would take one of these things that are called buzz buttons. Now, Disney's famous for using these in their fuzzy tauntaun drinks or anything like that. And a lot of high-end restaurants are starting to use these little flowers, but they're called a toothache plant. And when you chew them up, it almost makes your mouth turn kind of numb, almost like a Szechuan peppercorn. And so I would make them do the buzz button, and then they would take a shot of my hot sauce, my hottest hot sauce. So that was the shot collar. And that's one experience. Another experience, like I was saying, was the miracle berry. So a miracle berry is this berry, I believe it's from South America. And it is an actual berry that is legal. I imported some from Florida. So there was a grower out in Florida. You can also get them freeze tabbed on Amazon. But anyways, you put this berry in your mouth and you swish it around for about a minute and a half. And you don't feel any different. But what it's doing is it numbs out all your sour receptors in your mouth. So you can literally take the most sour thing. You can grab a lemon, cut it in half and eat it, and it tastes like lemonade. You can drink vinegar and it tastes like donut glaze, or a stout beer tastes like chocolate milk. It's just one of the craziest things in the world. So I want to bring unique type experiences to people through food. Those would be some things that I'm working on in the future. But yeah, so some of my newer products, I'm really excited for, because I just don't think I've seen anything quite like it before. And I'm excited to see the reception it gets.
I really like this a lot. I think it's an amazing product. Let's talk about artwork, logo design, all of that. How'd you do it? What's the idea behind it? Let's explain it a little bit, give visualization to an audio only podcast.
Yeah. So with Papa Caps, I wanted to tell the story. I already had a background idea of where I wanted the story to go with Papa Caps. He's a figure from Victorian times, steampunk influenced, and he is the father of capsaicin. So that's where the name Papa Caps comes from. Capsaicin being the molecule that makes spicy peppers spicy. He is depicted as, in my head, as a kind of like one part steampunk, one part carnival barker, one part snake oil salesman, and one part the most interesting man in the world. So when I try to voice Papa Caps, that's what I'm going for. And so when I created the logo and the labeling within the storyline, which isn't written just down just yet, but what happened to Papa Caps is he likes to go around to these festivals and do these hot sauce challenges, and he, through his challenges, may have made some people a little bit upset. And one night his house burnt down and nobody could find Papa Caps after that. They don't know if he died in the flames in the house or if he just left town, whatnot. But like one of the commercials that I did for one of the events at Haunted House, it's like these two little girls doing this nursery rhyme, and it talks about Papa Caps, and that's the legend behind him. And when patrons, he convinces the patrons to take his hottest sauce. He talks about how the fire that you feel inside is the same fire that took half my face, or something like that. And so that you'll see on my logo, it's the steampunk character with half of his face as a skull. And now he's like the spirit of capsaicin, the father of capsaicin.
Love it. Love it. Are you creative in your normal job? Like, because you're pretty creative with this, both from a culinary standpoint and a storytelling standpoint.
And my normal job, not so much when I started the company. So when I started the company, I was in logistics, data analytics. Since then, I've progressed to transportation and that kind of stuff. But since then, as of 6 months ago, I did become an assistant marketing director for my company. So I in a little bit more of a creative role. Yes.
Amazing. Amazing. Talk to me about core values. Talk to me about motivation, inspiration, what keeps you going, why do something else, why not just do what you're doing?
So yeah, the motivation really is coming from my customers, and most of my posts start as my friends, especially when it comes from the voice of Papa Caps. And that's the truth. I do consider them my friends. Like I said, that look of pride that I see in the kid's eye who just impressed their parent on how spicy they could go. Or I probably just had my biggest compliment that was a motivator happen to me about 2 days ago. I have a gentleman who buys from me one bottle of Caribbean lime probably about once every 2 weeks, and he picks it up at my house. And it was going as normal to this week, and I hand him in his bottle, and he started to walk away, and he stopped, and he turned and looked at me, and he goes, "Hey, Luke, hold on." I go, "Yeah, what's up?" And he goes, "I just want to let you know that I know somebody who's going through chemo right now, and this is the only thing that's making food palatable to them." And like, my heart dropped when they said that. So it's stuff like that that's motivating me to keep on going. That's why I focus on the experience. I talk about flavor you feel. Flavor you feel isn't about the heat in your mouth. It's about the experience that it brings to you when you have those moments with my products. You bring your buddies over for the Super Bowl, and you have pizza, and you realize you have a bottle of Sweet Reaper in your fridge. And you're like, "Hey guys, check this out. This is hot, but you're going to love it." The experiences that food can bring to people. That's what motivates me.
I love it. I don't even know where to begin here. The one of the things I want to talk about, the restaurant thing, and I want to talk about this in barbecue also, and we've talked about it in the podcast, is people buy a lot from a pit master, not because he has a good sauce, but because he also has a restaurant. That's where, I think everyone thinks of hot sauce like, how am I really going to make money at this? It's the growing thing of it. It's the vertical integration. It's getting your hot sauce out there to more individuals. It's collaboration, like we're talking about. There's lots of different verticals, but being stuck in your vertical or within hot sauce, but not exploring all the verticals within hot sauce that you're that's the thing. Same with barbecue sauce, same with marinara sauce, same with whatever. I understand consumer packaged goods very well, but it's a lot easier to have a brand backing it.
Hmm.
And it's a lot easier when you have a restaurant too to do it. And I think for you, I think what you're finding is you're stacking skills here. Your current job is stacking your skill, your marketing skills for your future. I think this brand has more to it than you and I know right now. I think there's a larger plan for your story and your characters and the future hot sauces you create, or sauces in general, or food. So I think one of the things that I particularly like about you, Luke, is your open-mindedness. You have a very open heart, and you're constantly learning. Has it always been that way for you, the seeking of knowledge?
Yeah. So like on my About Me page, it talks kind of like a story about when I was a kid. So it, I was kind of the strange kid that people always kind of wondered about a little bit. And I wasn't the most social person. I had my very close friends, and I was constantly trying when I see something that is interesting or kind of mysterious, I almost get like hyper focused on it. And I still carry that out too as being an adult. I remember right before I started this company, I thought to myself, I honestly don't know how, and I don't know where this thought came. I was just like, I honestly don't know what electricity is. I don't get it. It doesn't make any sense to me. So I went out and I bought myself this circuit building kit, and I sat for a couple months and taught myself how to build circuits and program circuits and all that good stuff. When I find something that's new, unique, and something that just makes me curious, I go in head deep.
I really, I really like this actually. This is just an exciting topic. There's a lot of things you can do with pickling and saucing. I'm gonna plant seeds. There's so many things, okra, other things that you can do with what you're doing. When I think of Illinois, I generally don't think of hot sauces or the palate of a hot sauce community, but I do know that it is growing. I do know that just like the rest of the world, our palates are growing. And then to your point, the faster we can grow our children's palate, the better off they're going to be, and their exposure to the world and understanding the world and be able to grow in the world if they want to be in food. Okay.
Hmm.
Gosh, I love this, Luke. Let's talk about anything that comes to mind, hardships, things that you know now that you wish you would have known maybe 3 years ago when you first started. Let's sort of walk through all of that. What does that look like?
Well, first, kind of build off of what you were saying. I really do think within the hot sauce community that we kind of had a two two punch whammy that made it blow up. The first thing was the start off of the TV show Hot Ones. I really think that has brought hot sauce to the main consumer, like major. I mean, I think that really made this industry boom. But on top of that, the second punch was COVID. So not only was Hot Ones going on, but everybody was stuck in their house, and that's where a lot of people, like I said, myself, thought maybe that's would be a good idea to start a hot sauce company. So yeah, the two of those and the challenges that like Hot Ones brings on, the going through the wings of death or whatnot, it brings enjoyment to it, which I think has definitely helped the community. What was your second question? I'm sorry, or what was the question you wanted to go to?
No, I was just I was talking about other things that you can make into sauces or pickle or things like that as you get into acidified foods. I was just planting seeds. I think the other part of the question was anything that you wanted to talk about, lessons learned, things you wish you knew then that you know now. Maybe you already just talked about it, but that was sort of the basis of my question.
Yeah, as I said, as far as things that when I first got into this, I had no idea what I was getting myself into. It isn't easy. I'll have people at festivals and stuff come up to me and be like, I'm looking to make a hot sauce and I want to bring it to market. Can you tell me the steps you have to do? Tell me what I got to do. And, I am going to be one of those people. I know not everybody is this type of person, but I will help people out. I mean, if even if they are coming up with a hot sauce, and I think the main reason is because I don't think anybody that I've ever met, their hot sauce is the same, or their brand personality is the same, or they're going for the same goals. I think that's why we have such a friendly relationship when we go to these hot sauce expos. So I'll say, okay, to the person that wants to start it, I'll be like, okay, so first thing I'm going to tell you is if you really want to do it, I'm not going to stop you, but it's a lot of work. It's really hard. And they usually say, yeah, that's cool. And I'll give them the first list of steps that they have to take just to get cottage food certified. And I say, here's the list that you have to do to get cottage food certified. This is only the tip of the iceberg. I'll say, if you want to go further, feel free to email me. I'll take you through the steps. Because, honestly, when I first started, I started off on my own and it was so confusing. And it wasn't until I got into a Facebook group called Hot Sauce Lovers that I met Tim Teo, Grumpy Dad Hot Sauce. And he actually helped me figure out all the licensing and the hoops that I had to jump through. And if it wasn't for him, I wouldn't be here. So I figured that, like you said, the mentor or the mentee becoming the mentor, I feel that, I know how hard it was to figure everything out. But I also know that there's a lot of people that talk, but they don't want to actually go through everything. So that's why I give them the cottage food part first. And I'm like, do this first. You complete that and you want to continue, feel free to reach out. I'll walk you through what you got to do. That way I'm not wasting their time. They're not wasting my time and that kind of stuff. But yeah, so that's where I'm with that.
What do you enjoy the most about what you do right now? In the hot sauce area, what are you enjoying the most? What makes it matter the most to you right now?
The customers, number one, seeing them, talking to them, hearing their stories intertwined with our brand. I love doing R&D, coming up with new things. I'm not a big person in the kitchen. I don't enjoy making it so much and packing it. So I am working to get in with a co-packer, but I'm still keeping my kitchen time available for my research and development. So Illinois we're really lucky with our cottage food laws that allow us to make things and present the public. And how I utilize that is I'll create a new product and I'll introduce it in Illinois at my events and see what the reception is with that. And if it's a good reception, then I will work on mass producing it and working on a way to get it through to the co-packer once we start working with the co-packer. So that is something that has definitely helped us out. And then another thing that helps me is the fact that I do keep my kitchen availability as well as the co-packer. So if the co-packer can't get what I need to when I need it, I have that opportunity to either make it in my kitchen for Illinois consumption only, or make it into commercial kitchen. It just takes a little extra time and effort.
Awesome. Anything you want to share with us, Luke? Anything in your heart? Anything you want to share with the audience that comes to mind right now?
Just that, if you have yourself a dream and you want to do something that's always been in the back of your mind, do it. I mean, life's too short. I heard a quote that says, nobody ever regrets the things that they have done. The only regret that people have is the things that they have not done when they're on their deathbed. So yeah, realize that you are smarter than you think you are, and you're stronger than you think you are, and more determined than you think you are. I think a lot of those what ifs hold people back. And yeah, I think once you get over that what if, it's really not as bad as you thought it was.
I agree with you big time. Wow, what an incredible episode. I like this a lot. I like the growth. I like the pursuit of growth through learning. I like mentorship. There's a lot of heavy things on here, big time. I'm trying to even look through my questions. We did such a good job of going through them. Wow. Let me see here. The last thing I have for you, Luke, is where can we find you online? Where can they buy your product? How can they get it? Where do you ship now? Let's talk about some of that stuff.
Yeah, so you can go to my website, www.papacapfoods.com. You can order all my current sauces there. And then as soon as my upcoming collaborations come out, they'll be on there as well. I have my social handles through Facebook, Papa Caps Foods. Instagram is Papa Caps Foods, and so is TikTok. I enjoy doing the social media aspect as well. I like to be pretty creative with that. We have our motivational Mondays going on Instagram right now, and that's been really fun to create. I'm going to start a new thing in Instagram for when I'm in the kitchen, me goofing around in the kitchen. People seem to kind of like that. So I got a couple of those that I got planned to come out. But yeah, you can get me online. You can see me at quite a few festivals and farmers markets in Illinois. I'm always at the Plainfield Farmers Market. I'm hopefully I have some interns interviewing right now. And so we'll be at the Plainfield Farmers Market, hopefully Kankakee Farmers Market, as well as quite a few big events. And we'll always do the Illinois Hot Sauce Expo. We'll always be there. So yeah.
Thank you, Luke. I appreciate it. Your time. I appreciate the episode. Everyone in the audience, if you like it, share, comment on the episodes. I keep forgetting what that last one is. But no, seriously, that helps the episodes. It helps the efforts. I appreciate all of you guys who are doing it out there. Comment on your own episodes, entrepreneurs. Everyone's like, is it okay to comment on my own episode? I don't see why not. You're like, if you don't root for yourself, no one's going to. So yes, you can root for yourself, and on Instagram and anywhere. That's part of the deal here. We're rooting for ourselves until other people root for us. That's what happens as an entrepreneur. But so I've gotten a few of those recently where I'm like, yes, of course you can like your own episode or comment on it or appreciate it. It's the same as any other social media. Their algorithms, the more people interact with them or the content, the better they do. That's why we're talking about creating social media pages that we just were discussing with Luke. Lastly, Luke, from a leadership standpoint, you've talked about bringing on new employees. You've got interns coming on. You're becoming a leader within your organization. You probably lead outside in your normal life. You're also been led by others. Talk to me about leadership. Talk to me specifically about leading others. We talked a little bit about mentorship, but let's tie it as we end here in a big bow.
Yeah. So I'm also we call it Stuco leader at my church. So I'm a youth group leader for 8th grade boys. And one thing that I've learned with that is through leadership, you have to have empathy. You have to be able to put yourself in their shoes. And so that's what I kind of do with my customers. I try to put myself in my customers' shoes to see the things that they would enjoy. Just like with my Stuco students, when I first met them, when they were in 6th grade, they were extremely rambunctious. And so in order to get the messages across that we needed to get across, I had to gamify them. And that's where that empathy came in. So it wasn't, hey, everybody, shut up. You got to listen. This is not the time to goof. No, this is the time to goof around. This is the time you're a kid. Let's have some fun. Let's make this enjoyable with my customers. This isn't just a farmer's market where you're going to see handmade items. We're going to have fun. I'm going to test you. I'm going to try to put you through the line, and you're going to be proud of yourself when you're done. And, so yeah, I think empathy is a huge proponent of being a good leader and an entrepreneur. Creativity, thinking outside of the box, being friendly with other people, because you never know who's going to inspire the next best, greatest idea that you have. And then, as I said, get those what ifs out of your head. Do the determination. You're better than and stronger than you think you are. So, yeah, those are probably the biggest leader components that I would have.
I love it. Amazing. I can tell you show up. I can tell that you're disciplined. I can tell you do what you say you're going to do. So thank you for today, Luke. I appreciate it. If you ever want to do another one, like I definitely want to talk more to you. I want to see where your adventure goes. I want to hear where your collaborations go. So as we start getting into April and you do all those collaborations, everything, and start growing into the summer, I know summer is a big time season for hot sauces, but we should definitely do another one when you're ready, because I want to ask you other questions. I have other sets of questions, just so the audience knows as we're wrapping up here. But I would love to continue to tell your story for sure.
I would love to tell it as well.
And thank you, Luke. One more time, where can they find you online?
You can find us at papacapsfoods.com.
Awesome. And on social media?
Social media, same thing. Pop Caps Foods on Facebook, Instagram, and TikTok.
Awesome. Thank you. Thank you guys for listening in. I love you guys. I appreciate all the support we're getting. I appreciate all the entrepreneurs who want to come on the show. There is a link in the notes, guys. There is a calendar there. You can sign up to be on the show. It sends you questions. You can go through it. You can also listen to episodes there. Entrepreneurs who are still listening to the show, who have been on the show, please, the answer is yes. You can recommend it to other people you know. You can give them the calendar link. I'll just say it on the air. It's easier than communicating with everyone, since I know you guys are listening in, but you can just share the link. That's easy. If you guys have already know them and vet them and know they're good people, or sitting in the hot sauce stand next to them, in this case, since we're talking about hot sauce, then absolutely pass it on. You don't need my permission to do that. We're building a community here. We're trying to grow food and beverage industry as a whole, because we have more impact and influence on the world than any other humans in our lives. We touch more customers, more vendors, more people, more of the earth by the ingredients we source than any other industry, any other human. So it's something to think about. Think about that great power we have and what we are doing with it. So I love you guys. It's been a while. I've been a little rusty. I haven't recorded in a few days. So this is a good warm up. I appreciate your time, Luke, and we're out.